Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. I moved into a haunted villa. Pre-warning before I start, my English is not very good and I have never posted in a forum before. It was around 2015, me and my partner was expecting our first child, so we needed to move fast and get settled somewhere so we could be nested for our new baby girl arrival. We were very lucky and found a lovely, so we thought, old but lovely villa near my family in our hometown. It was unfortunately a private rented villa, so we were paying large amounts of rent, but we managed to say the least. It all started within the first couple of weeks moving into this villa. We would hear the odd footsteps in the attic and bangs in the kitchen. I'll try explain the villa's layout. So you would walk through the front door and end up in the living area. You could walk through the living area and walk into the kitchen where the staircase was leading upstairs. The toilet and bathroom was also downstairs through the kitchen. It was like an added room with the bathtub and toilet thrown in. Very odd layout, to be honest. Anyway, as I stated, it was only a few weeks been in there. My partner was ready to pop any time within the next few months. We were sitting in the living room. It was not the warmest room in the house, so we ended up sat on the settee with our bedding over us. We heard a loud bang in the kitchen, so I ran in to investigate, but there was nothing I could see out of place or had fallen, so I shrugged it off and proceeded to watch TV. My partner then noticed something in the corner of her eye. She says there was a shadow walking in the kitchen, so my immediate reaction was a thief was in the garden causing a reflection through the outside window. So I threw on my shoes and looked in the tiny garden we had. Again, nothing was there, and it was a silent, cold night. Anyway, weeks go by and still no sign of little baby Bump wanting to make an arrival, so we just kept staying at home, watching movies, preparing for baby, etc, etc. By, I'd say, the second month, we moved the flat screen TV into the bedroom. It was just way too cold to be sat in that living room at night. Even with the fire on and heating on, it just would not get warm. This is where it gets bad. I was always tired, even with the great sleep and early nights, always seemed low in myself, and yes, I was preparing for a big change, bringing a baby into the world and being my first, but this was more excitement than fear. I woke up one morning and just couldn't stop thinking about this random old woman who came to visit me in my dream. I mean, I've dreamed about many people, but never to the point where I was so detailed about this lady. I just assumed it was a very strange dream and I must have got too deep into overthinking it. But it doesn't stop there. I was dreaming about the same lady every single night. She was following me and even speaking to me saying she's trapped in my dream, but never told me how or why. I was always aware that I was dreaming because I would pinch myself and try waking myself up in the dream. The lady always seemed to be there, just staring at me from behind the window or the corner of a room or whatever I was doing in the dream. The dream started getting more real and seemed to be longer, and again, I always knew I was dreaming, hence the tiredness when I woke up in the morning. My partner started noticing me moving and talking a lot through the night. I have no recall of this, purely her words. She said I would be shouting and moving aggressively to the point she had to sleep on the floor some nights. This one night, I was woken up by my partner. She was shaking in fear. I said, "What's up?" She said, "What the hell are you doing?" Me not realizing at the time I was actually stood inside the built-in wardrobe. I panicked and asked her how I got in there. She told me she had no idea, but I was going mad in there like someone was trying to get me. So I jumped back in bed and we swiftly fell back to sleep. We spoke and laughed about the wardrobe incident for a few days, not thinking anything other than me sleepwalking. New environment, baby on the way, etc. Again, through the early hour of the morning, my partner wakes me up, panicked, yelling her water had broke. Finally, it was a baby due date. But hell no, how wrong were we? She, partner, had a perfect puddle of water around her legs and backside, but none of our clothes were wet or damp at all, with no sign of contractions or a baby. That freaked us out big time. Why was there a perfect puddle of water on the bed? It had no smell and no color, so it was not an accident or any of our halves. We just couldn't explain it. So we changed the sheets, flipped the mattress, etc, until we could clean it in the next morning. Well, that exact same night, again, I was woken by my partner's screaming voice. I opened my eyes and I was sat over my partner just staring at her, while no idea why or how I was doing it. At this point, she kicked me into the spare room of the villa. I laid down some spare blankets and slept on the floor. A few days passed without any incidents and still no baby. Around 1 week late from the due date by this point, I was sat in the bathroom located downstairs. My partner was getting ready for the day ahead, planning a walk to try to force the baby to come. I hear 3 very loud bangs on the front door. By the way, if you look through the front window, you can see all around the house and neighbors, etc. So I shout, "Kelly, see who is at the door, I'm in the bathroom." She replied, "I've just looked at it, it must be the back door." So she came downstairs and opened the back door to nothing or no one there. A few moments later, she was back upstairs and bang, 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 bang again, but it was louder than the first time, so my instinct was someone's playing a prank. I then jumped up off the toilet, wrapped myself in a towel and ran to both doors and even ran into the street. Not a single sign of anyone or anything about. I came back in and he did it again. I was fuming by this point, absolutely adamant someone was winding us up and hiding. But nothing. I even watched and looked for ages and nothing. Anyway, woohoo, it's 14 January and my baby girl has arrived. It's our first day at our home with baby Ella. Nothing more in this world will fill your heart with love than your first baby, so I was just constantly over the top of her Moses basket, besotted into her eyes. Days pass with no problems at all and baby is well and settled. By this time, both me and my partner was just exhausted. Night feeds and watch duties just got us both good. So my partner's mom offered to take baby Ella for a night so we could catch up on a sleep and rest. We dropped off Ella at her nan's and walked back to the villa. It was around 6 p.m. and was darkish night. I walked through the door, through the living room, and just as I got to the bottom of the stairs, a big lump of wood crashed and just missed me. It smashed the kitchen floor that hard it broke, the wood. My partner screamed and shouted, "What the F was that? And where has it come from?" I was in utter shock, it just missed me. I picked it up and we dried, debunking it, but that wood did not even match any of the decor or type of wood in that villa. It was very old wood and very old school paint on it. You could tell it was from an old era. So I rang my dad if he would come up, as we were scared at this point, and he did. He slept that night with us and he insisted he would sleep downstairs, even though it was cold. The next morning, my dad's first words were, "This villa is 100% haunted and I'm going to bring my friend over, who is a medium and could do blessings, etc." A long story short, the lady, my dad's friend, came to the villa but refused to come in. I said, "Come in, you are more than welcome," and proceeded to tell her the happenings. She refused to come into the villa and said I'm not allowed to come in. I laughed, creeped out, and said, "How come?" And she looked at me and her body language and speech changed. She said, "You need to get out of this place and protect your baby. The gentleman and his wife who own this place is not happy you are here and wants you out. And he's warning me things will get much worse if you do not leave." She gave my dad a hug and left sharpish. We joked about and cursed a few times, saying we ain't leaving until we find a different home to live. Anyway, the dream started again. The lady was back, but she started chasing me around and shouting at me to leave her house. And in the dream, I was always in a big glass house, and she was always stood behind the glass screaming, get out of my house." Now, I decided to take things into my own hands. I started learning and researching how to remove negative energy, etc. But I just didn't find the time nor have the energy to continue. But I started taking the odd pictures at night, with and without the flash. Never saw anything out of the ordinary until I decided to shot a few pictures in the attic. To my disbelief, the first picture I took seemed to be a shape of a dog in the loft, and beside it an old man, or seemed to be a man. Anyway, it was the shape of a big chap and a big dog. I showed it to the lady my dad fetched to bless the house, and she said it was the chap who owned the villa over 100 years ago, and he was very protective over the villa. In the end, we decided to leave the house and sofa surf at my parents' and my partner's for a few weeks until we find somewhere else because the house was just too cold and creepy. The wardrobe I climbed into that night asleep ended up green within a few weeks with mold. It ruined all my clothes and it was one thing after another. We were always drained and anxious in that villa, so we left and never returned. We will speak about this place now when we have friends over, and we always wonder if anyone who's moved in since have experienced anything like us. Since we moved, our energy has been better and I have not had a bad dream or sleptwalk since. It was all 100% linked to that place. We have 2 children now, so this is a few years old story, but something I'll speak of frequently. Anyone else had any experiences linked to mine, please share. Thanks, Scott. Thank you, Mazobia, the author. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any new episodes. See you again soon, and until then, please be safe.